The day we stop growing is the day we start dying.
People don't leave companies, they leave leaders.
Every job is a hole. Okay, pardon my language. And when you're moving from one job to the next job, right? You're just moving from one hole to the other hole. You need to create an environment where they really cherish coming to work.
When you talk about culture, it's not any fluff. It's really the little things that show that the boss cares about the people.
They are not looking for higher salary, they are looking for fair compensation.
What is that one skill that is crucial for today's market to do very well in the SME space?
I think it's still
These two individuals that we have invited, right, they are actually our EOA coaches, right? So they have been there, done that, and now they are taking on the voluntary role, right, to coach the next generation of business leaders. They also have amazing businesses themselves. Annie runs a HR group, right, that has presence in many, many countries. And Patrick Chow runs Adam Khoo Learning Technologies, which we all know what they do, right, in education. Now they're in finance education as well. So they're going to talk more about the business, right, the mindset, the thinking process. And of course, we're not going to cover the same questions, right? So we want to explore a little bit more with them. Right, without further ado, let them have the stage. Maybe Patrick, could you start with your introduction?
My name is Patrick Chow. I've been an EO member for the last 15 years. The company Adam Khoo Learning Technologies Group was started 23 years ago. In case you all do not know, the company today does not operate any business at all. Interesting, right? So actually we have 3 different subsidiaries. We have Activate Education, which basically do training in the Singapore schools. We still train about 50 to 80,000 kids a year. I mean, we've been doing that for the last 22 years in the schools doing training. Then we have Growth Catalyst, which is our corporate training arm. And we do the scaling up program for our clients across EO and YPO and across the region. And of course, the 80% of our biggest pie, right, is actually Piranha Profits, the financial education arm of the company. This business reaches out to across 160 countries across the world. I call it a global business now. The Activate Education business is a more local one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How many of you here have gone to Adam Khoo's program? Raise your hand. One at the back. Not only one. Reveals the age, of the room. Oh. Okay, great. Round of applause for Patrick, everybody. All right, next, Annie, would you like to give your introduction?
Yes. My name is Annie Yap. I'm an EO member for about 14 years. I run a HR tech platform that helps companies to expand, scale, hire, payroll, manage their Asia Pacific workforce. We are about 80 people and we are in 9 countries across all major countries in Asia Pacific. So when I started the business, we were in executive search. Actually, EO, this amazing platform, has helped me to really pivot, my business. So I'm really happy to really want to give back, to the next generation of entrepreneurs, because I do believe that entrepreneurs are the future. Yeah, because you guys create jobs. We create jobs, for people, and jobs are so important to families.
We have a deeper conversation about jobs later, especially coming from a HR expert. So both of them, they are giving their time to coach, right? And they're not making money from it, obviously. So it's really purely voluntary time. That's why we're very grateful for them to spend their time here to teach us a little bit more about the entrepreneur mindset. So now, the reason why we put them together in this panel, because both of them have a very interesting difference in intention of starting the business. So Annie Yap here, she started the business with the thinking and the mindset to exit in due time. Whereas Patrick here, he started a business, right, and he wants to continue doing the business as a lifestyle business, right? So show of hands, right? How many of you here don't want to exit your company? You just want to continue your business for the next 10, 20 years? Raise your hand. Okay, lifestyle business, very good. How many of you here wants to exit? Raise your hand. Okay, we have about half in the room. So we're going to learn a little bit more about what's the difference in terms of your approach, your mindset, and how you structure the business. Right, so maybe I can hear more from Patrick first. How do you start the business with the intent that you want to run it like a lifestyle entrepreneur? And what's your difference in approach?
I think, firstly, when we first started the business, we really did not think about any exit at all, because the game plan at the very beginning was to grow and grow. And through growing, it's also about surviving. It was only 2018, that period, right? We wanted to go IPO. in Hong Kong. So to us, it was not really an exit, but it was like one way out. But in the end, we pulled back the plans, and since then, we have revisited the topic of going IPO, but we have keep on so-called telling ourselves that it's not worth the effort. My role in the company, in case you all do not know, right, my partner Adam Khoo is really not involved in the running of the business. So he does not attend the management meetings that we have. He attends more like the product business and stuff like that. It's related to what his content creation. So he's more interested in that, right? And I think he can do this, he visualized that he can probably do this until he's 70 years old. So as his good partner, I will definitely just support him all the way and just carry on.
Fun fact for Patrick, if you know him in person, right, he's known as the guy that only works on Mondays. So the rest of the day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he's out.
One Monday a month.
Oh, one Monday
No.
Yeah,
It's a myth. Yes, a myth.
it's a myth. Are you sure?
There's a myth. Yeah. It was only during COVID that I had this kind of lifestyle. Before that, I was really working like hell. Yeah, it was only during COVID that I managed to have this 1 hour a week management meeting, and that's it for the week. In a week, I probably have about 2 to 3 meetings, and that's about it for my life for that week. Yeah.
Quite a nice lifestyle entrepreneur. How many people like that?
Yeah.
I also quite like that.
But of course, we get a lot of work done on WhatsApp. I don't have emails from my staff also. So, and they don't really bother me. I can go for a 3 weeks holiday and they don't really message me at all. So it's possible, yeah. And all this is possible for all of you also, right? Yeah.
So we're going to learn a little bit more from him on how he achieved this lifestyle. Okay. Annie, how about you? Like when you started your business, you have a very clear intent of exit. How did that come about?
Growth is a very, very important value, for me as a person. That is really very strong in our company also. So I want to inculcate that growth mindset. When I started the business, I already with the intention to sell. I chanced upon this book called Built to Sell. So I read, this book. Then along the way, right, I started with executive search business. So it's a service business. So people come, people go they don't just go, they bring a few clients with them. So I have to go through the cycle of recruiting, training, again, recruiting, training. That's so difficult to scale. In one EO event, there's this particular speaker called Ping, which is, I think he runs Monks Hill Venture. So he spoke about those were the days when Grab just started, this platform just started. So he said that, you have to build product, and then, you have to the product will be able to sell even you're sleeping. You cannot grow your cost in tandem with your sales. Yeah, so I was thinking, wow, what can I do? As an executive search business, if I continue to grow my business, I have to hire more consultants. So I said, okay, then this is not the way. Then I start to digitalize, my business. So I bring my services onto the platform. So one step at a time, one day at a time, one code at a time. Although I'm not a programmer as well, but I hire, a programmer, and then I built, that business out. So once I built that business, then it become more scalable because it's no longer dependent on, people.
I think one topic that you touch on is the growth and scale. Right, so I believe there is a difference between the two. So maybe any of you would like to share what is the difference between a growth company and a scale company, or the different stages of that?
In business, right, every year you say, next year I want to grow by 20%, I want to grow by 15%, the revenue numbers, whatever numbers that you put to it. But I feel that scaling, right, is a case where you are consistently growing, let's say your operating expenses at 5%, and you stick to that 5%, but your revenue is continue growing at 20%. And what you have, right, is a growth like that. So it's very subtle, and your revenue is growing bigger. The issue with a lot of businesses, right, they realize, like what just now Annie mentioned, right, to grow your sales, you need to hire more people, you need to have more resources. Then you find that you are just growing in tandem with your costs. So that to me is not scaling. So until you get the idea that scaling, right, means your expenses don't go up by a lot, right, but your revenue can grow by a lot. And the only way that can happen, right, is your business model probably need to change, or you need to have a new product that provide that kind of revenue that allow you to achieve this kind of numbers.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is growth sucks cash. So I think it cannot be growth at all costs, and that is very, very tricky because as an entrepreneur, right, any business that come in, we also want to do. as long as make money. But actually that is very, very dangerous. So we made a really, really big mistake, I think in 2014. At that point in time, I have in executive search, how they do is that they have practices in manufacturing, technology, and all this. So I don't really do banking and finance. So I chanced upon this great guy, that so he said that he's so good in this. He got so well connected, all the private bank and everything. And that time, Singapore banking scene and finance sector really bring in loads and loads of RM into Singapore because they want to build Singapore as a wealth management center. So I thought, hey, that's something that I really need. I want to build my banking practice. And little do I know that because of that, right, I hire him in, that I really hire a crook. Because before that, I don't really have a very structured interview process. That whole year, I lost $1 million. Yeah, so it was really, really a big mistake, of my part. So that's how I learned, and from then onwards, I tell myself, I cannot grow at all costs. So every time now that I expand overseas, right, I must really make sure, when I expand overseas, I must make sure I got enough sales, to sustain, my operation. At least, if not, I outsource. I work with partner. Actually, it's cheaper if I work with partner. Yeah, because I didn't know that sometimes you expand overseas, then there's all compliance costs that you never count into your finance. That's the lesson that I learned. We cannot take the mindset of growth at all costs.
Very good tip, growth at all costs. And understanding the crocodile graph, right? It has to be growing. Revenue has to be growing faster than your costs, right? That's the idea of scale, right? So rounding up on the topic of an entrepreneur who is doing a lifestyle business versus an entrepreneur who is prepared to exit, right? What is that one thing that they need to take note of, or that one clarity point that they need to have in order to decide between the two?
Okay, so to me, number one, most important thing, although, system and structure is important, but number one most important thing is leadership development. That's really, really very important. And leadership development is not just your management level, really leadership development at all levels, because they are closest to the problem. They cannot come to you, and we run a regional operation, right? If let's say everything had to decide by HQ, then it will choke growth. Yeah, so how do we develop our people, so that they can make the decisions because they're closest to the problem? Yeah. So I think to me, number one thing is really leadership development.
Yeah, so that is the one thing you definitely improve on, or you definitely work on in order to grow your business.
Yeah,
and
that's
one thing.
Correct. That's how I see it, because I think if you look at the investor point of view, what do they look at? Because if they also don't want to buy a company, then the next day everybody go, because they know that if everybody go, the client will go, the business will go, right? So the leadership is very, very important. Yeah. So I have intentionally built up a management team. Like my MD has been with me for the last 10 years, so she's well equipped, to take on, really managing the whole entire operation.
That's the mindset, right, to have, especially when you want to exit the company. How about Patrick?
Even though we like to use the word lifestyle business because it's a very catchy thing to say, but the reality is that the way how I run the business, right, we are still growing 15 to 20% revenue a year, and profits is still growing 20 to sometimes 30, 40% growth per year. So even though I use the word lifestyle, the numbers are still showing growth. I would say this will continue as long as I'm alive and in the company. So even though it's lifestyle, but there is still growth. And the reason why I'm doing that, right, is because the day we stop growing is the day we start dying. So that's why the growth must continue to have, number one. And number two, I think Adam and me, we are in our 50s already. My children is already starting working already, my eldest. We will start thinking about second gen and stuff like that. But we have no intention to bring our family into the business. So because of that, right, we also need to make sure that the systems that are put in place, if today, one day we may want to exit, we never know, but we never say no to anything. But at this moment, for the next 10, 15 years, I would say that we are not looking at any exit. So we need to make sure that all our systems are in place, right, such that if we want to make that decision to so-called exit or to sell, right, everything is in place to do that. And I've always done it that way since the 10 to 15 year mark of the business, right, to make sure that we are sellable. Today, someone want to buy our company, right, it's very easy to buy. All the systems in place, everything, all the policies and everything put in place there already. No need to worry. So making yourself ready lah.
Exit ready.
Yep.
Yeah, and more importantly, always ensuring that the company is still growing, right? Despite you maybe taking a more part-timer or secondary role, right? Okay, the next topic I want to talk about is regards to retaining talent. Because as SMEs, right, no matter what size, an SME is defined by below 100M and below 200 employees, I think, right? Yeah, so as an SME, right, we always compete with MNCs for talent, right? It's very hard because SMEs, we don't have as big of a budget as MNCs, so we cannot price talent out, right? So I want to ask both of them, having multiple employees in the room, right, what are some of their talent retention strategies? How they keep good people in their company when finance is not the key incentive or the key strategic advantage? Maybe Annie, you want to go first?
Okay, I'll start first. Salary, although it's not the most important thing, okay, but you cannot be way below, market standard. So you must at least price, at like, to me, about 60% on the average standard. No, of course, not against the SME, but not against the MNC, but in the SME level, you have to be 60% for that basic pay. So what can we work on? I realized that talents like to grow. So if it's in an environment whereby they can grow, so this is something attractive, they could forgo temporary basic salary for long-term, incentives. So I always position okay, we are like a big fish in a small tank, or you want to be a small fish in a big ocean. If you're in MNC, you look at this fella is a scholar, that fella is a scholar, this also scholar, turn around also scholar. So you are just very ordinary. But in the SME, you really stand out. So SME, you are given the opportunity to work directly with entrepreneur. So this is something really attractive. And of course, on the compensation point of view, right, you compensate in terms of bonus. So meaning, if let's say, company made the profit, you get more. So at least they know that they are not shortchanged. Yeah, so this is one way, which is also win-win for the company, because when you make profit, it's okay to, to split. The other one is really relationship, with the leaders. So we also develop our leaders because there's these 5 levels of leadership, right? The first level is like by title, level 1. That's the lowest level of leadership. That means you're a manager, that's why you're a leader. The second level is leadership, with relationship, title plus relationship. Level 3, title, relationship, plus track record. Level 4, title, relationship, track record, plus adding value to the other person. Level 5 is pinnacle leadership. So we always tell our people, so this is the framework, right? So how we develop them. Now they're level 2, or now they're level 1. How to bring up to level 2? How do you build relationship with your people? Yeah. How do you, then level 2 to level 3, what are the skill set needed to go to level 3? And what is the skill set needed to go to level 4? So level 2, we expect them, every leader must have at least level 2 leadership in the company. So they must build relationship with their people. So how do we create environment to build relationship? So we have this one-on-one. Every week, mandated one-on-one. You just follow this structure to do one-on-one. You should build relationship one. So the structure is like that. Number 1, what is your business best, business low? Number 2, what is your personal best, personal low? Number 3, what are you grateful for? So that at least they know what is going on in the person's employee's life. Okay, number 4 is what is your KPI. Number 5, we use coaching approach, what is the support needed, for you. So we use this to help our leaders become, to build relationship with the people. Yeah, so people like to work, people don't leave companies, they leave leaders.
That's a good one. So first is growth opportunities in your company where they are paid by bonus, right? Depending on how the company performs. Secondly is giving them a very structured way to learn about leadership so that they become better leaders and can lead others better as well. So if you know Annie, right, she's obviously a very structured person. She has literally broken down how to train leaders to a T, right? So later, if you want to have more conversations regarding this, right, please go and ask her in person, okay? How about Patrick? I heard from you that you take a very culture approach to your team, right? Well, how do you do that?
Okay, so before I talk about culture, I think the first things first, right? This was said to me when I was working in SPH in the first 2 years of my corporate life. I remember back then there was a lawyer who was working as a sales person, and I asked him, why are you working in here, as a salesperson? And he said this to me, every job is a shithole. Okay, pardon my language, huh? And when you're moving from one job to the next job, right, you're just moving from one shithole to the other shithole. You do not know whether the other shithole is more shallow or deeper. Do you agree? Those who have worked with before, right? So I took that learning very seriously and applied it to my business. And during my so-called town hall meetings, I always talk to my staff in a setting like this, right? I say every job is a shithole. Same thing. I repeat the whole thing again, but they are so-called our employees, right? But I say that as the boss, right, my job is to make sure that whatever shithole you're in now, right, is as shallow as possible. You cannot smell the shit, you cannot feel it, you cannot see it. And that's what it is. It's about retaining the talent. So a lot of it is you as the boss to make sure that you hear all the concerns that is available. So I have about 50 over staff in the company, not a single foreigner, all Singaporeans. So SMEs who complain they cannot find Singaporeans to work for them, is it okay? Except for those who got hard labor, because mine is no hard labor, right? I mean, all on the computer. But I have 50 plus Singaporeans. 50% of my staff, right, work with us for more than 10 years. 25% work with us for more than 15 years. So a lot of them have worked with us for 18 to 20 years in that sense. So we have developed a very strong culture, right, where the first thing that we really look into is empowerment. We really empower our staff, right, to think and do. And that's the first thing that we do. Because from the very beginning of time when I started the business, I've already empowered, right, them to do things already. So that I got less things to do. The problem with a lot of bosses, they like to do it themselves. So they become better and better at doing it. But then your second, so-called, your liner, they don't get a chance to do it because it's always the boss doing it, right? So you will never be able to know whether they can do it or cannot do it. And then when they do it and they screw it up, then you say, this guy not good enough, not as good as me. So that's the problem. So from the very beginning, right, I've always empowered them. And I think after empowerment, the next one is engagement. And there's a lot of engagement with the staff that I have. In fact, I spend, even though you may say that I only have this meeting, 1 meeting, 2 meetings, it is true. So what do? I go and catch out the staff. I go and talk to the staff. How's this? How's that? Because nobody wants to have meeting with me, so I create meeting with my staff to find out how are things are. Yeah. Because the topic is on retention, right? It is very important that your staff know that the boss has a heart for the staff. I think it's very, very important. You know why? Because, right, remember, you all here are SMEs, They either, if they're not happy with you, they join another SME. If not, they will go to an MNC. All right, but please remember that the SME, right, actually hire 80% of all the staff.
In Singapore, right?
In Singapore. 80%, if I'm wrong, correct? That's the statistic. So the likelihood is that actually they are just moving around SMEs. All right, the people who are the MNCs, right, maybe the highly educated ones, the ones with the honors degree, the master's degrees and stuff like that. All right, we know we have challenges in hiring them. So we just need to make sure that the people that we hire have got the best environment. So there are always these 3 E's that I take note of. The empowerment, the engagement, and of course the environment. The environment that we create for our staff, right, is one of, I would say, very nationalistic. So like for example, my staff, right, if they have a baby, right, we give a baby bonus of $2,000. So I encourage them to have babies in the company. And a lot of them, from single to married to 3 kids with us, right, means they put everything in already to a company, if you think about it. To have 3 kids in a SME, right, is no joke, You need to make sure they can afford to have 3 kids, right? That is a challenge by itself. So we have baby bonus, and then sometimes we send them for training overseas and stuff like that to become better. So a lot of work that, you need to create an environment where they really cherish coming to work. Just to give you an example, like I like to sous vide my eggs. I mean, I love to cook, for those of you who know, right? So recently, I decided to buy a sous vide machine container, and I'm going to tell the staff, all right, I think we can provide eggs in the morning, right? Sous vide eggs for the staff to eat as part of your breakfast if you want to. It doesn't cost a lot of money to buy eggs, right? So I thought, yeah, that's a nice gesture. But you know what? Little things like this help. Because I created a pantry, right, where I got a fridge. I go to Google Office, Facebook Office, right? I see, they got nice thing. I cannot match. But at least now I have a fridge where it's a see-through glass, and I order all the drinks to put inside there. So you create an environment where they come to work, and the pantry is always filled up with snacks for them to eat if they want to. Yeah. So this is the environment that you create to so-called entice people to stay with you.
What I really like about your sharing is that when you talk about culture, it's not any fluff. It's really the little things that show that the boss cares about the people, and in whatever ways, because of course Patrick is a great cook and he's known as the master chef of EO, right? So he used this gesture to appreciate the staff, right? How about you, Annie? What are some of the things that you do to show that you care, or award people so that they stay in the company or are loyal to the company?
So maybe I share from compensation point of view. Okay, so there's a lot of myth that people think to pay people high, or your people, the employees want higher salary. Actually, that's a myth. They are not looking for higher salary. They are looking for fair compensation. So fairness is super important. And how do you communicate or give them the perspective that the company is fair? So meaning, for us, we do have salary benchmarking. Okay, and they are clear, they know, okay, so if, let's say, they are this job, and then these years of experience, then this is the salary range that they will be at. Yeah, so giving that clarity, to them, knowing that for them to understand, to know that they are being compensated fairly is very, very important. It's more important than they were asking for higher and higher salary.
So one question from the audience asked about attracting talents, right? So do you have any tips or strategies to attract better talents? Because this audience say that applying for a job is very low, candidates are quite unsuitable. How to attract them more?
Okay, so this is employer branding. Yeah, just like companies branding, right? So how do you position yourself as a company? So your Glassdoor, is very important. So
you're branding on Glassdoor, right?
Yeah. That's very important. Yeah. So get it managed, because it can be managed. So get it managed. Because if you don't proactively manage, then you manage by these people who leave all. Then they will go and say terrible things on your Glassdoor. Then your rating get so low, because a lot of employees read leh. Yeah, we think they don't read, but they actually read. So manage your reviews, Glassdoor, your image, that's your image, very, very important. Yeah, and also writing JD, so don't put in bao so bao hai. Don't be kiasu, we all Singaporeans, we know we want kiasu, everything, anything as required by management. Who got talent want to join you like that? Yeah, so I think just write exactly what you are expecting the person to do, and then also your JD is your advertisement. So how you advertise to get client is the same thing to advertise to get employees. So write down the job description, the requirement needed, what is the opportunity, what is the offer, what do you offer to the employee? Think of what can you offer? Where is your competitive edge? Just like branding, right? Company branding, right? You have your competitive edge, right? So as a company, where are your competitive edge? I believe that every company sure have their plus point. So write down the plus point on your advertisement.
So Patrick's company will be great food, great breakfast, and his company
culture,
will be structural way for leadership and growth, right? Any other point to add, Patrick?
For the last 15 years, I only interviewed one person so far.
Who's that?
So I mean, because my finance manager left, and then I need to hire a new one. So to be frank, the last 15 years, I don't do any interviews, because there was a period of time when I hired people, and they leave, right? Then the managers will say, "This one, the boss hire one." So after that, I learned it the hard way. So I say, okay, then I don't do any more interviews. So I have never, the 15 years, only one that I can recall now, and she's the same finance manager since then, so I don't need to hire. Because the people that report to me are still the same all these years, right? But I agree with what Annie has said. Your branding of the company is very, very important. All right, I think like we say, Adam Khoo Learning Technologies Group, I've spent a lot of energy to make sure we are well known, even though I'm not Adam Khoo. Yeah, a lot of people come to me, shake hands with me, "Hi Adam," like, "Are you sure I'm Adam?" Yeah, But all my since the very beginning of time, right, it was all about making Adam Khoo famous. Whether it's Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, all the countries they were in, it was all about how to make Adam Khoo famous. Every time I go there, I have a new GM. I say, "Your job is to make Adam Khoo famous." I can sit behind, nobody know me, it's okay. Not to get worried about it lah. So when your brand name is there, right, you're able to hire talent. I want to put it in the context for right. As a small SME owner, I mean, when I first started, how do you hire people? The thing is that, right, you know who you are, and when you talk to people, maybe from outside or what, right, that's why the boss, the entrepreneur, need to go out and network and mingle more. Because sometimes you meet people outside, and then you realize you're like-minded people. This guy could be, this lady or this guy could be younger than you, but you find that this person has got the right attitude, and that's all that matters. And there's nothing wrong with you approaching that person to hire. Hi, would you like to work for me? Or would you like to work with me? Don't use work for me lah. Let you work with me to build this brand or this business. Okay, because I remember I hired one of my heads of business, head of a business, right? At a pub. At a pub, I'm not joking. The so-called interview / was in the pub. After talking to this guy, I said, oh, this guy, I think can work for me. He worked for my competitor, means he know my business well. Then I made him an offer, then accepted, done over a beer, we settled already. And the guy worked for almost close to 18 years before he left, because he wanted to do something different with his life. You get what I mean? So I think there is a lot of misconception that, as a SME owner, you cannot, it's very difficult. I tell you, it's then difficult. You can't put an ad, right? You'll get all sorts of rubbish or applications, and then you find how to go through all these applicants to hire them. So that is your challenge. But look at those around you, those that you meet frequently. Yeah.
Great tip. Go to the pub. No, just kidding. Talk to more people. Maybe mingle with the graduates, uni graduates. Mingle with some young people, and maybe you'll find your talent from there. How do you find Adam Khoo? Curious.
So Adam was my marketing schoolmate in NUS business. So we were doing a marketing project together. Then after that, he said, hey, let's start a business. So then we started a mobile disco business back in NUS.
Mobile disco.
Yeah,
the one in the vents and the disco lights.
So we used to do all the jam and hop, all the dinner and dance for the companies, and in NUS, the different halls. We used to do that, yeah.
Interesting.
When we were very, very young.
Maybe catch up with your uni friends. So the last topic I want to discuss about is revenue and profits. Right, I think this is constantly being debated about, right? As a young SME entrepreneur below $1 million, should I focus on getting my profits right, or should I chase for the revenue?
I think I will chase profit because there's this saying, right? Revenue is vanity. Okay, profit is sanity. Cash is king or queen. In my case, queen lah. But I think profit is very, very important, because without profit, right? Of course, you have to collect back lah. Without collecting back, your cash, you cannot use your profit to go and pay people, right? You also cannot use your revenue to pay your employees. You can only use cash, which is like only from profit that you can collect back. So I think, to me, profit is important.
Maybe a deeper question to that would be, how then do you balance? Because naturally, as you start a business, maybe you are 6 figures, right? And you naturally have to invest your profits back into the growth of the company. And that means your profit will reduce, but your revenue will increase, right? How do you balance that?
Revenue is like the leading indicator. Yeah, without the revenue, the market share, you cannot get, the profit. But if, let's say, like the example that I quote, right? If, let's say, I got a deal, in, let's say today, Japan, for example, okay, I got one client give me one deal, go to Japan. So because of this, right, if, let's say I go and set up an operation in Japan, then this is actually what we call is really like chasing after bad sales. Yeah, because it's not so sustainable. Yeah, because without a profitable growth, right, it's actually not sustainable. So I think, to me, I think gross profit, very, very important. Yeah, because we don't have deep pockets like funded by big investor. To me, in terms of growth, right, we need to really make sure that it's a sustainable growth.
Do you have a benchmark number?
In terms of?
In terms of maybe gross profit. Let's say you want to expand into Indonesia market, but your first deal into Indonesia is not the ideal, right? Because you're not present there, right? So do you have a 心理底价?
Yeah. I do have, so I need at least the sales equivalent to 3 months of running costs. Yeah, all in. So once I have that recurring revenues, at least must be recurring. That means not like only one time, one sale, that's it. It must be recurring, then I probably will go.
Great tip. How about Patrick?
Okay, so first things first, gross profits must always be positive. Nobody is in business to do a loss-making project or transaction, right? So gross profit positive. But in the early phase of any business, in the first few years, my belief is to push for revenue. The reason for pushing for revenue, right, is because you want to validate your business model. You want to validate that your products are selling well. Because along the way, you will add new variants to your product. You will add new things to your business. So you want to know that I can grow this revenue actually quite consistently, 20% a year, 50% a year, that kind of numbers, until you reach a certain number. So does that mean that pushing revenue, your profit is not important? The issue is that to push those revenue, right, your cost may be also growing. So you might be actually maybe just breaking even or losing money. So it's very common in a startup world to be like that. In fact, in the first 15 years of our business, right, some year make, some year lose, right. I think in overall 15 years, right, we don't really see money. In fact, we paid our first dividend on the 17th year of business. Very discouraging, right? So that's the reality. But of course, we pay ourselves well. I have to caution that we pay ourselves well, that we could buy a nice house, things like that. But what I'm saying is that for the business side, right, of things, right, it was challenging. Once you solve the revenue issue, right, means your revenue can keep growing, then that's when you start to cut your costs or keep your costs low or constant. And then you start to see the multiplier effect on your profits. And when that happens, the cash will come in. Yeah. So that's how business is. Yeah.
Annie, you want to add?
Yeah, just like to add on what Patrick has said, right? Something struck my mind also, what Sunny has said, right? I think in terms of revenue, right, we need to be very, very sure who is our target buyer. Yeah, because if, let's say, we're not clear about target buyer, everything want to do, right, then we might be, chasing after, like what he said, right, you'll be spending a lot of costs, into that particular project. Yeah, so chasing the right buyer is super important because your right buyer will give you the kind of margin, they will have the top dollar to pay you because your company, your solution fit them, suitable for them. So I think understanding your right buyer persona, and then what is your competitive edge, what is your competitive edge that can solve their problem, will bring in good, revenue. Yeah, and these are the tools, in fact, right, that I learned, from EO, because in 2013, I think under Adam Khoo's company, they brought in Vern Harnish, scaling up. So they remain one of the Asia Pacific trainer, right, for Vern Harnish course. So in EOA, we are adopting also the scaling up, the 4 pillars: strategy, people, cash, and execution. So, and in every pillar, right, they give you tools to help you to scale. Because, as a SME, sometimes, like what she said, right, it's very lonely as an entrepreneur. You share with your spouse, with your friends, your family. They don't really understand what is doing business. Yeah, but you have a community to support you. And better still, there are tools to help you, to scale. So during that time, I attended that Vern Harnish course. So in this people side, right, then that time our company was very, very small. So people also go, and all this very turbulent. So I remember this functional accountability chart. So in that, you have to fill up, So a head of company, marketing, head of sales, head of marketing, head of operation, finance, blah, 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 blah. So about 10, 12 rows. So head of company, Annie Yap. Head of sales, Jacob, my husband. Then head of marketing, okay, maybe Jacob also. Then head of operation, Annie. Then head of finance, maybe another person. So, but out of the 10, 11, only 3 names. Because every one of us pao sua, pao hai, everything. Yeah, so from there, slowly, step by step, then we start to hire, people to fill up, different roles. They get more structured. and then it's a lot more clarity in terms of like the going forward. Yeah.
So what Annie mentioned is product to market fit, know your target persona, right? Make sure to fulfill their needs, solve their problem, and have some margin, right? And then of course Patrick mentioned about the need to scale to a certain extent or grow your revenue first, then later think about cutting your costs so that your profits are there. So I want to ask Patrick, what was the turning point moment? What happened in year 17?
Okay, so what happened was we changed our business model. So Adam's wife was complaining about him, always flying all over. So the irony of this whole our business is, right, the harder I work, right, Adam work even harder. Okay, I open a new market, right, then they say, okay, get Adam Khoo go and talk. He go there, fly here, fly there, fly here, fly there. Then I go to the next market, open again. Then Adam say, I haven't even fly finished, just go open this new market, right? So we were flying so often that sometimes I wake up, I don't even know which country I'm at, Yeah, that's how bad it was. In 2016, he started putting his content on YouTube. And then our staff start planning the back scene, In 2017, we launched our programs online. And then the business started to scale. And then COVID was the best years ever, because revenue shoot through the roof, profits shoot through the roof as a result of the changing of the entire business model. So that helped us to cement our foundation back then to where we are today. Yeah. So we are digitally very savvy. So that's why today we are still 3 days work in office, 2 days work from home.
I think one of the audience was complimenting your clear-headedness and the way you all can explain really well. So we want to shape the question a bit, and the last question for today, okay? For young leaders in this room, right, what is that one skill that is crucial for today's market to do very well in the SME space?
I think it's still the ability for you to manage people. It's still there. I mean, I don't think it has changed much, And in fact, it's getting harder because managing Gen Z, millennials, is a totally different... okay, by the way, you know why I say I don't do interview, right? Because I think I can only manage Gen X. I probably have challenges managing millennials and the Gen Z. So that's why the heads, right, they have their juniors to even manage those people. If I can't manage them, then I don't force myself to manage them and get vomit blood use all these terms for what? Then I always happy in front of them because I got no problem with them. Yeah. So I think the key skill is still about managing people. Why I say managing people? Because you are still selling ideas to your staff, all right, to buy your vision, to buy your mission, so that they can so-called fight with you on this battle. Fight with you not just on this battle, but the overall war that is forever going on, right now. And you don't need to be the best. I can tell you, I know nuts about creating a marketing funnel on Facebook. I know nuts about it. I wanted to learn it, go for a course, take some skill future. My staff say, boss, you mad? We all here doing the same thing. Why you want to do this with us? Then I think back, yeah. He said, boss, your job, and they tell me very clearly, they want Patrick to go out there to network with people, to go and I play my real role, which is the Chief Entertainment Officer. That's why I host a lot, I eat a lot, and then I go out, and then I build more network and contacts, which they don't do, you see. Yeah, so all of us, really need to remember about people, managing people, and be able to rally them to your side. Yeah.
And I like how Patrick is very clear about what he's not good at. I don't want to manage Gen Z and Gen Alpha because I don't know how to manage them. So being true to your own strengths is also a very important trait. How about Annie?
I think the first very important skill is, all these are skill can learn one, is strategic thinking. That means like everything start with why, have like the end result first, then you see what is the step before, what is the step before, what is the step before. So strategic thinking is very important because once you have that strategic thinking skill and you use it in your business, you will reduce a lot of firefighting. Because the firefighting is the one that drain people, drain time, waste energy and everything. Yeah, so have that strategic thinking skill so that you can work, you can like have all the workflows in the company and it's really clear people to do what at what point in time, whatever. So that's one. Then number two, which is very important, is empathy skills. So empathy is also a skill which can learn, listen to your customer, see what they want, what is the user experience, how do you improve that experience, how do you improve the touch points. then empathy to your people. So empathetical skills is very important, whether is it like to your children, to your spouse, to your friends. So empathy skill is very important because it makes the people feel heard, which is, very, very important. It's not sympathy, but it's empathy. Then you design, your workflow, you design your business so that the customer feel that, wow, I'm important. My experience is good, it's so smooth, so easy to use your service.
We have come to the end of our business panel today. Right? Can we give both of them a big round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you.